guys, so today something I've been working on for a while. Pretty excited. We're going to test out a ported intake manifold and some new Tony Mamo ported stock throttle bodies that he did his special touch to compare against the solar and stock. So let me show you what we're dealing with here. Getting ready to head to injected. I've got the intake in the car. It's got ported runners. I've already painted it. You can kind of see in here it's ported, and then the ports, which we'll show those later, those are ported as well. And then on top of that we have ported throttle bodies from Tony Mamo himself, which he did. I got some stock ones here because we were going to possibly compare those today. And here's the ported ones. They're all painted. So this is Mamo's version. And you can just tell by looking at these, they are definitely more hollowed than the solars. They look like they should make more power. So we're going to find out today. Going to go from there. So stay tuned. We're having some issues. I did the update. And unfortunately, the car after the update did not want to start. And it was the battery's dead. So I had to swap on the stock battery. And that's kind of where we're at. So anyways, it's been a rough start to the morning, but running a little late, but we should get there. Hopefully we don't run into power problems. I don't know what was up with that update and why it keeps having this parasitic drain, but anyways, we'll see if we can figure it out. So on the road we go. Okay, so we are here at injected. I've got my ported intake. It's been ported by Tony Mamo. We got the Tony Mamo ported throttle bodies, so we're gonna test those out, get a baseline pass like it is, and then we'll test them out afterwards. So all right, stay tuned, and we will get our baseline numbers and then be doing the swap. So we're now got hooked up to the dyno. About to do a test pass. This is baseline numbers with ported throttle bodies and solar. I've got, of course, a catback and cat delete are the three major mods. So then we're going to take this intake off, take the ported one, the new ported throttle bodies, drop that all on, compare that whole setup to this setup. And then from there, maybe take the stock throttle bodies and throw them on to see what the throttle bodies give that other setup. So we may make power, we may not. Let's just stay tuned. We'll 603.4. Alright, so we got two baseline passes. This is with Corsa catback, solar ported throttle bodies, and cat deletes. So keep in mind, the last time I was here, similar numbers, a little bit more. I think I was up to like near 620, but that was this is probably 90 degrees here in Georgia today. So you got to take in mind like the temperature and conditions of the DA. And I'm going to pull up the DA here in a second and kind of see where it's at, but definitely like not optimal for making like a hero kind of numbers. This is our baseline. We're going to swap this intake throttle body, see if we can best this. All right, so here's the ports. I need a micrometer to see how big these are compared to stop, but they're ported pretty much all the way up. And then for later with big throttle bodies, we've got all this smoothed out in the front, and we'll compare that to the stock ones here in a minute. All right, so this is the Mamo don't know if you've seen the Solars, but they do not look this good. Much smoother. Now there is a little bit extra room up here and here, so I don't know how that's going to affect idle, but that is a much better porting job in my opinion. So we'll see. We're about to find out. All right, so we got most everything unhooked. All of our connectors, just took a few minutes. And then now we're going to the main manifold one. So you can see I've got it bolted on the throttle body. And we're ready to just take, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side, 5 on the other side, and the manifold just lifts off. So that's what we're gonna do next.
I got it. Okay, hang on. Just set it right here. I got it. We should put a towel on there for the next.
All right, so we got Solars. Just to give you an idea, so you notice here, the pins, this is larger. The cuts here, bigger. It's got a bigger lip at the top. This has no lip at the top, but it looks way smoother. And when you got this open, it's just straight through, like. And then on this one, you can see, if I can get the light on it just right. There, hang on. I think inside here, there's actually, you're gonna see a lip at the back of this throttle body back here. Having trouble capturing that. But either way, you can see there's a big difference between these two. Like it's, I don't want to say night and day, but there's definitely a flow difference, like just eyeballing it. All right, so in case anybody's wondering what you're dealing with under here, this will give you an idea, just show you how well these heads are ported. I mean, just look at this, the CNC. I mean, I don't know how much we're gonna get out of what they're doing from the factory. This thing is just phenomenal. But big thing to take from this is look where the starter's at. There's the starter. So we don't have any starter problems or even alternator problems, but there's the alternator. Yeah. Okay, so we got the moment of truth, intake swapped. It's hotter though. Earlier in the day when we did this, it was like 10 a.m. It's now afternoon, like 2. It's probably gone up 10 or 15 degrees. So naturally aspirated motors, hotter. At this point, I'd be lucky probably to see a 5 wheel horsepower gain, and even at that, it's technically going to be more because, you know, with this temperature, we would have lost power if we just dynoed it again in this heat. So if we make anything, then it's a gain. And so car's up, it's hooked up, ready to go. We'll see. I'm optimistic. This is the new intake. And let's see. That's it. Kept the strut bars in case we had to do something or pull it off. So those aren't on right now. I'm going to put those on when we get done. So big bucks, no whammies. Let's see what we got. Made more torque too, 10, 11 torque.
There you go. Hotter, it made more power, made more torque.
Yeah. So now we got stock throttle bodies, and we're going to compare the stock throttle bodies to see how much the difference was that from the throttle body porting or from the intake porting. So now it's ported intake, stock throttle bodies. And this is about an hour later. torque, a couple horsepower. Yeah, I dropped. All right, so let's talk about the numbers here. So we had baseline numbers the last time we were injecting engineering, 70-degree weather. We did at that point with our mods at that time were cat delete, ported throttle body. We hadn't put the JLT on it yet. We were 619 and 427 torque. That was in 70 degrees, so like optimal weather. I'm not sure exactly what the DA was, and we did not run air fuel then, but we ran air fuel this time. So then today's baseline at injected, that's with ported throttle bodies, cat delete, and of course a cat back, and that's in 100-degree weather. I did 2 pulls with every change, so I kind of have a good knowledge, or at least something to kind of guide by to get kind of an average. Our first pull was 603, 411. Second one was 606, 422, for an average of 604 and a half, and I'll just keep the torque the same just to make things easy, 422 torque. So we swapped everything, which took a few hours. We swapped to Tony Mamo's ported intake, Tony Mamo's ported throttle bodies, reran 2 more runs, additional runs, and that was in 112 degrees. So we had a heat increase of 12 degrees in this metal building that we were in. It does have insulation, but you know, Georgia, summer's hot, whatever. So we had 12-degree increase. So then our power from there, and I'll show all this will be on here so you can see it. We went to 610, 431 torque. So 610 wheel horse, 431 torque from ported intake and change of throttle bodies. Now, bear in mind, our previous solar by themselves gave us about a 15 wheel horse gain, which seems to me a little bit on the higher side, but that's what we got, right? So so this at least tells me like we matched that and succeeded that. So the question was, which of the 2 things, the ported intake or the ported throttle bodies, gave us more power than the solar by itself? And that was the next question that I had on the dyno. And so what we did was we took the Tony Mamo throttle bodies off and we put on stock throttle bodies, and then we reran it with air fuel. Air fuel throughout these runs, you'll see it on the screen, about 0.82 lambda when you get up towards red line. So pretty consistent air fuel. Not big changes. I don't have access to the timing data. I had HP tuners, but I wasn't running it, so I don't know if anything changed with the timing. I'm assuming it did with the auto air temperature sensor. But anyways, so our repeat runs after we put on stock throttle bodies, Tony Mamo ported intake, we did 608, 429. So we lost a couple horsepower and we lost about 3-4 wheel torque. With that, we, like I said, did 2 runs. They're both pretty similar. So we lost some power. So that tells me that the ported Mamo throttle bodies probably are equivalent, if at minimum, maybe even better, most likely better than the solars, at least as from a peak power standpoint. Now that is being paired with a ported intake. Now, another thing you have to remember, the throttle bodies, there's more to it than just your peak power. It's like your drivability. And I've driven around in these, and I can tell you the throttle response is better, 100%. I've got to get more time. I don't have but like maybe 100 miles so far. So I'll know a little bit more as the more I drive them. But right now, there's definitely a tip-in throttle response is better. It acts more like a throttle controller. So I do like the Mamos, personally, the way they ramp in better than I do the solars. They're both good. They're both great. Now, I just like the Mamos better. And, you know, this also tells me that there is, to me, the torque pickup, you know, typically when you have torque increases, porting a lot of times usually drops torque, increases horsepower. That's because your peak airflow increases because you've got a bigger area, but typically airspeed decreases because it's a bigger area and air slows down as it goes through. That's typically how porting works in my experience and my knowledge base. But what was unusual with this mod is we actually picked up 10-wheel torque. And so I was thinking about it, I was like, why did we pick up 10-wheel torque? My best thoughts are because there's not a huge hollowing out of the intake. Like, it is ported, but it's not a big, huge change in the actual runner. But if you notice on stock intakes, and I've had a lot of these, I've seen the insides of them, they kind of vary with the casting. But this nylon castings in them, they've got these burrs at the each end of each runner where there's a mold that comes together. So there's like a ridge on every runner. You can't capture it very well in video. I've tried to capture in this video. I can't really get it. But that being taken away, I think changes the velocity of the speed. And, you know, with porting, like I said, usually the airspeed slows down. But in this case, I think airspeed actually picks up because of that. So I think air is actually moving a little faster, and that's why we gained torque. And that's why we had a consistent 10-wheel torque gain. The curves are all about the same because these aren't major changing mods as far as like actual airflow. It's small increment changes. But that being said, you know, we did have increases even in the heat. So what would that have been if we'd taken that 12 degrees away? I don't know. I can say it would have been more. And so this, you know, if you want to do the 6.4.5 and 422, it looks like we gained 10 wheel torque and about 5 wheel horsepower with the mods, which isn't a lot, but on this car, you're fighting for every horsepower, every torque because the engine is so efficient. So this is something to consider, you know, if you're wanting to like really take it to like the max that this car can do. We don't have a lot of options right now until we get open tuning and we can do E85 and that kind of stuff. But for now, it's definitely an option to get kind of, if you want to be as high as you could possibly be. This to me is kind of where you got to go to get there. Obviously there's some other products coming out now. We've got like, you know, headers, those kind of things for our cars that need to be tested to see if we can get some more power. But we're all fighting for 5-10 horsepower. That's what we're fighting for at this point. So this gives us more horsepower. That's my opinion, especially in the heat. I want to get some track times to kind of confirm this, but according to the dynographs and with the air fuel staying the same right now, this is it was definitely beneficial. So anyways, if you like what you see here, please like and subscribe. I'm gonna have some more content coming out. Going to Carlisle next week, so I'll see you guys there. Excited about that. We'll be with DBM Racing. We've got a booth where we're showing our intakes and whatnot. I do need to specify from this video, I paid for all this stuff out of pocket, all in all, porting and everything. Now, these prices are preliminary things just because this is what I paid. We weren't sure what it was going to take hour-wise, so it's kind of on the hour kind of deal. But I've got about $1,500, give or take, you know, shipping and whatnot, in porting of both of these things. So Tony's going to he's going to release what he wants for pricing. That's to be determined. But that's what I've spent so far porting both things. And like I said, it is what it is, but I don't want anybody to think I'm sponsored. I'm not sponsored here. This is all independent. I paid for the dyno. Everything was paid for. So this is all just independent research to kind of see kind of where we're at. But anyways, I would encourage anybody reach out to Tony if you want some of these throttle bodies. David and I are kind of working with him to possibly sell those too with DBM Racing, like in the future, since it does look like this makes more power. Maybe even equip it with these intakes that we're selling as well and get them ported and painted and kind of add a little bit. So I would love to see some more independent testing. Let's see what you guys think. We will have some of this at Carlisle. I won't have a ported intake because it's on my car, so you won't be able to see the actual intake. But I've got another one being done at the moment. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. Got a bunch more coming. Thanks, guys.